Hello everybody and welcome back to a brand new video on the channel, guys. So what I have for you guys today, I have my week 14 championship score predictions for this upcoming week, guys. And this week we actually have some massive ties at the top and bottom of the championship, so I'm really looking forward to this one actually. And we got a couple of funny kickoffs in this one actually. We've got a Monday night kickoff coming up this week. We've also got a game happening tonight as well between Barnsley and Nottingham Forest, so I'm really interested to actually getting into this one. And as well, guys, I'm also going to add a new feature to this series. So it's quite similar to what we've actually been doing in the new podcast that I've actually started, guys, with 3 other fans of the championship. I'll leave a link to that in the description down below. It's called 4 Men 1 League, and like I said, I'll leave a link to the iTunes where you can go and download it in the description down below. Basically what that is, it's 4 championship fans, myself being one of them, and basically what we do in that, we just talk about football, give you a bit more of an in-depth review sort of the week of the championship, as obviously I do my championship roundup videos. That podcast is basically, it's a longer version of that really, where we go into a bit more detail and have a bit of back and forth, between contrasted opinions of different fans. So if you'd like to go check that out, the link will be in the description down below. But take it from that, what I want you guys to do this week as well is leave a prediction for who you think the player of the week will actually be this week. I'll be revealing at the end of the video who I think the player of the week will be, but this bit's just for a bit of fun obviously. But let me know down below who you think the player of the week is going to be. So guys, if you've not seen this series before, let me briefly explain how it all goes down. So every week I give you my championship score predictions for how I think the results will go for each individual match. FIFA 17 also makes their predictions, but what I'm really interested to know is what you guys have to say. So in the description down below, I will also leave all the fixtures that are taking place this weekend, guys, and I want you guys to make your predictions. Then if you do manage to get any of your predictions correct, I will include your comment in my next video, guys. So one thing I must say first of all is that I don't think I'll be doing a championship roundup video this week, just because there's a game going on Monday night. So what I think I'm going to do is my next championship predictions video, I'll sort of mash the two together, and because it'll be a bit awkward with the upload time with the game taking place on Monday, if that makes sense, guys. But I've rambled on for long enough now, guys. We'll just go into my predictions. So the first game we have is an interesting encounter, guys. This one being played tonight actually, so get your comments in fast for this one. This one's taking place between Barnsley and Nottingham Forest, so a really funny one to predict actually, with two teams which are in the form they're currently in is going quite up and down lately for both these sides, as Barnsley coming off the back of 2 successive 0-0 draws. Nottingham Forest, on the other hand, obviously, they've been in quite a downward slump recently. However, last weekend they actually managed to get an impressive 2-0 victory with Brighton being back in the squad. So I'm not sure what angle to approach this game at, really. So I'm actually going to say this one's going to end level as a 1-1. If I was to predict this game probably 3 weeks ago, I'd be backing the Barnsley win for this one, but just with that Nottingham Forest having that threat of a Sombalonga going forward, they've always got a shout of being in the game. It's just whether their defence can withhold Barnsley's strike force. So for this one, I'm going to say 1-1. FIFA has said 0-0. And then the next game we go to, guys, we have Aston Villa coming up against Cardiff City. So this one taking place at Aston Villa. I'm actually really looking forward to seeing how this one actually turns out, because Cardiff, obviously, at this point in time, have been in fantastic form. Obviously, they got a very impressive win last weekend against Huddersfield Town, high flyers in the championship so far this season. Aston Villa, on the other hand, have been fantastic since Steve Bruce has come in. They got a very respectable draw against Brighton last weekend, which probably they should have actually won that match. I thought they were the better team going into that game. So with this one, it's really hard to back against Cardiff with how well they've been playing. I do see this one being quite tight. Actually, I don't think a lot will be in it, but I'm just going to back the Aston Villa win because I think they've got just that added bit of quality. So I'm going to say 2-1 to Aston Villa. FIFA said another 0-0. Then going into our next game, guys, we have Brentford coming up against Birmingham. So once again, this is quite a tricky one to predict, actually. Brentford at this point in time haven't been in the best of form, actually, compared to probably a month ago when they were doing quite well in the league. And Birmingham, on the other hand, have had quite the opposite of that, actually. They've been doing very well recently, and they currently find themselves in a playoff spot, which is probably exceeding what they expected to be like at this point in the season. So it's a really difficult one to predict, and Brentford's home record this season has been quite impressive. Added to that, obviously, Scott Hogan has been in fantastic form for them this season, and I can see them bouncing back from that obviously awful defeat they had last weekend to Blackburn Rovers. So I'm going to say 2-2 actually in this game. I think both sides possess a lot of attacking quality. just a question of whether their defences will be able to hold out in this match. But FIFA said this one will end 0-0. And then to probably one of the toughest games to predict this weekend, guys, we have Brighton coming up against Fulham. So both these sides are just in fantastic form, obviously. Brighton currently find themselves sat second in the league, and Fulham have just been on a surge of form recently. Ever since that Huddersfield game when they managed to just demolish them 5-0, Fulham really have been riding high on their form recently. So to go into this match, I just don't know where I stand on it. I don't know what angle to approach this at, really, but it's a really difficult one to say, but I am going to back Brighton for this win. I mean, this game could go either way, and I wouldn't be surprised. You know, if Fulham were to walk away with a victory, I would not be surprised by that. I just think that Brighton's home record so far this season, they'll make it incredibly hard for Fulham. However, I can see quite a lot of goals being scored in this match. So for that reason, I'm actually going to predict a 3-2 to Brighton, as both these sides, you know, going forward have been immensely good this season. But FIFA's actually disagreed with me for this match. FIFA said that Fulham are going to win this match 1-0. Then into our next match, guys, we have Derby County coming up against Norwich. So a very interesting encounter, actually, this one. Obviously, the pressure keeps on being piled onto Norwich manager Alex Neil, as they've, you know, just in a fall from grace so far this season. You know, last month they found themselves in the top two. Now they're, you know, clinging on to a playoff spot. So going into this match, Derby currently are riding on their form. They've been fantastic ever since Steve McLaren has come back into their side. And, you know, one player above all else has been Tom Ince. You know, the form that Tom Ince has currently found himself in, I think that could really strike fear into this Norwich defence, which has just looked incredibly out of place lately. And for that reason, I'm actually going to back. I think Derby could put quite a few past Norwich in this match. So I'm actually going to say that this one's going to end, I'm going to say 3-1 to Derby County. It's a difficult one to do because any time this season, you know, with the quality that Norwich have in that squad, they can bounce back like that at any point in the season. It's just with that, I'm questioning the mentality of that squad at the moment in time. Of course, the management of it as well. But I'm going to say 3-1 Derby. FIFA said 0-0. Then on the next match we then go into, guys, we have Ipswich Town coming up against Queen's Park Rangers. So obviously the QPR regime under Ian Holloway got off to a fantastic start the other weekend, with them managing to get a win under him. Ipswich, on the other hand, obviously coming off that defeat to Nottingham Forest, very disappointing for them. I think that's a game which Mick McCarthy will have been targeting as a victory, and I actually think because of that, Ipswich will play quite. I can see QPR having quite a lot of the ball in this match, actually, and it's sort of attack versus defence is how I see this game panning out, really. Ipswich, I think, will sit back in their box and will probably be happy to take the point in this match from the angle that Mick McCarthy will most likely approach it. QPR, I think, will be a lot more direct in this game, but I actually see this one ending as a 0-0. I think that's going to be Mick McCarthy's aim, to get this Ipswich side back on track slowly. But Thieves actually agree with me for this one. Both myself and FIFA are predicting a 0-0 for this match. Then going into our next game, guys, we have Newcastle United coming up against Blackburn Rovers. So a difficult one yet again. I mean, Newcastle currently top of the league at this point in time. Blackburn Rovers coming off the back of a fantastic win last weekend against Brentford. You know, no easy feat to go ahead and beat Brentford 3-2. However, going into this match, I honestly think that Newcastle may just demolish Blackburn in this game. The reason I say that is because I think Blackburn's strength so far this season has been going forward. You know, players like Sam Gallagher really have been on song for them so far this season. However, it's their defence this season which has been exploited the most, and I just think against a side like Newcastle, you know, with all the quality they have going forward, I just think they'll put a lot of goals past this Blackburn side. And with attack being Blackburn's defence, once again, you know, with that Newcastle defence they have, I don't see them getting away past that, really. So I'm actually going to predict a 4-0 victory to Newcastle in this game. That may be a bit harsh on Blackburn. For the record, I do actually think that Blackburn will avoid relegation. I think they've shown too much to go down this season, but for this game, I actually think that Newcastle will just demolish them, really. But I'm predicting 4-0 to Newcastle. Let me know what you think of this one. FIFA's saying 0-0. Then into our next game, guys, we have my club Preston North End coming up against Burton Albion. So quite an interesting encounter, actually. Of course, Preston coming off the back of that 0-0 board draw with Wolves the other weekend, and Burton being in a bit of a slump so far this season, which they found themselves in. They look to be getting dragged into this relegation battle at this point in the season. And what I see this game panning out as, I think Preston will have the majority of the ball. I think Burton will plug the gaps quite well and work quite hard off the ball to limit Preston, especially our creative players in this match. But I can just see it being quite like a repeat of the Wolves game, actually, where Preston are I can predict us having quite a lot of chance in this game, but we're just not finding that clinical edge. But I think eventually Preston should find a way through this game. I'm going to say this one's going to end as a 1-0 victory to Preston North End. FIFA saying 0-0. Then our next game we go into, guys, we have Reading coming up against Bristol City. So obviously two teams this season, which Bristol City lately have seen a bit of a slump in their form, which is quite disappointing considering the fantastic start they had to their season. And Reading, they've just had a surge with what they've been doing so far. They currently find themselves third in the league, which, considering the start they had to the season, which was a bit iffy, that is just mental to consider. But it's a really difficult one to back against Reading at this point in time, so I am going to back a Reading winning this victory. I could see Bristol City getting a point from this match, with maybe even a victory, to be honest. With the way that Bristol City have shown they can play this season, I wouldn't be surprised, but just with their current form, I'm going to say this one's going to end 2-1 to Reading. And in our next game we go into, guys, we have Wolves coming up against Sheffield Wednesday. So going into this match, this will be Paul Lambert's first home game as Wolves manager, and Sheffield Wednesday, it's a really odd one with Sheffield Wednesday. I mean, they currently find themselves just outside the playoffs. However, saying that, I do feel like they've underachieved so far this season with the squad they currently have available to them. And, of course, they're coming off the back of a 1-1 draw last weekend. A fantastic goal, actually, from Forestieri. And going into this game, I feel like Wolves will be quite fired up for this one. The crowd as well, obviously, with it being Paul Lambert's first game in charge. But I am going to back, it's a difficult one. I could see this one being another 0-0, to be honest, but I'm going to back Sheffield Wednesday for this victory just because, they should be doing better, and at any point this season, I think it will eventually click for Sheffield Wednesday. So I'm going to say this one's going to end 2-1 to Sheffield Wednesday. FIFA saying 1-1. Then to our next game, guys, we have the evening kickoff taking place on Saturday. This one is a Yorkshire derby, a really big one, actually, at both ends of the table. This one taking place between Rotherham United and Leeds United. So Rotherham, just been abysmal so far this season. I just can't see any way that they're going to survive this season unless they were to have a miraculous January transfer window. I just can't see it happening, to be honest. And Leeds coming off that disappointing performance, really, against Newcastle United. Obviously, Rob Green won't need any reminding of that game. But I do think that Rotherham will show a bit more than they have in their recent matches. Of course, the reason for that being, it is a local derby, so I just have a feeling that they'll be a bit more fired up for this game. The crowd as well, I feel they'll be a bit more fired up. But with this, what this Leeds squad possesses in terms of quality, I think they will beat this Rotherham side. However, I do think it'll be quite a bit closer than a lot of people are predicting. So I'm going to say this one's going to end 2-1 to Leeds United. And Thieves actually agree with me for this one. Both myself and FIFA are predicting 2-1 to Leeds. And in our last game being played, guys, we actually have a Monday night kickoff. I don't know what that's all about in the Championship, I don't know what you guys think of that, but I just think, why is this game not happening on Sunday? Why is it happening on Monday? I just don't know. But this game's actually Huddersfield coming up against Wigan Athletic. So I'm actually interested to see how this game will actually pan out, to be honest, because Huddersfield, of course, are coming off the back of that defeat to Cardiff City, whereas Wigan are coming off the back of a draw, which Warren Joyce so far this season, he's got 1 point out of a possible 6. He'll obviously be looking to improve, and let me know as well down below, Wigan fans, if you think Warren Joyce will avoid the drop this season with you. But I do see Huddersfield bouncing back in this game. I think for what they showed against Cardiff, I didn't think they played that badly. It was just defending set pieces where they were really caught out in that one. But I do think that's where they could be exploited in this game as well. But I'm actually going to say this one's going to end 2-0 to Huddersfield. I think they should be beating Wigan. No disrespect to Wigan, of course, but with the quality that they've shown this season, I think they should be doing that, and maybe that'll get their season back on track. So FIFA's actually agree with me for this one. Both myself and FIFA are predicting a 2-0 victory to Huddersfield. So let me know down below what you think this game will finish. So now, guys, here comes the new feature of today's episode, guys. So what I want you guys to do is leave a prediction in the comments down below. This is obviously just for fun, for who you think the player of the weekend will be. So myself this weekend, I'm going to go with a bit of, I'm going to say Johnny Russell of Derby County. The reason I do say that is because Derby, of course, coming up against Norwich, both in contrasting form so far this season. Of course, Derby have been fantastic, and going forward as well, they've just been so expressive going forward. I mean, Inter's been the standout player for them lately, but I think that this game could be a time when Johnny Russell comes to shine. So I'm going to say this weekend's player of the week is going to be Johnny Russell. Let me know what your predictions are in the comments down below. So there we have it, guys. That are my week 14 predictions, guys. So I can't believe believe it, we're on week 14 already. And I must say, just thank you so much for all the continued support you guys have showed on this series so far. It's literally, it's just been mental. To have this continued support on episode 14 of this series is honestly ridiculous, guys. So I honestly can't say thank you enough to all of you who have stuck around to the end as well. But like I said, guys, that will now wrap it up for this video. So if you have enjoyed, make sure you do leave a like on the video. It really does help me out. As well as that, make sure you check out all the links in the description down below. And as well as that, make sure you follow me on Twitter. I always tweet when I upload a video, therefore I'll never miss a video ever again, guys. But apart from that, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.